Aloha everyone, I'm Christine Spath and I welcome you to a discussion on the intersection of mental disability and criminal justice. Did you know that according to studies in the United States, individuals with severe mental illness are much more likely to be in jails and state prisons than in the remaining state mental hospitals? I will give you a brief background on how this happened. With the introduction of antipsychotic medications in the 1950s, symptoms of severe mental disorders like schizophrenia were managed quite efficiently. As a result, many individuals could now be treated in the community, and the push to deinstitutionalize individuals with mental illnesses began. Therapeutic community models that transitioned individuals from institutions to community settings emphasize the role of the environment in recovery. Instead of viewing individuals with mental health issues as needing to be isolated and restrained, the new philosophy emphasized empowerment, community integration, and patient rights. The goal was to reintegrate and normalize the lives of those with mental illnesses, but the outcome did not reflect this vision. A significant turning point was the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1981 under President Reagan, which shifted the financial responsibility of social services, including mental health, from the federal government to the states. This led to a redirection of funds, often away from mental health services, resulting in severe cutbacks of community-based support. Consequently, many individuals with mental health issues were left without adequate support, leading to increased homelessness and, for some, entanglement in the criminal justice system during crisis or due to minor violations related to their conditions. This system is not equipped to address the specific needs of this population. Today, we will explore a program called Jail Diversion that was launched on Kauai in 2001 and is aimed to provide rehabilitation for individuals with severe and persistent mental illnesses entangled in the criminal justice system. Jail diversion programs, such as the one initiated on the island of Kauai, offer a more compassionate and effective solution for individuals with severe and persistent mental illnesses by redirecting them from incarceration to rehabilitation. It is an honor to have Warren Dastrup, the program's former coordinator, join us today. Warren has been a guidance and support in my journey ever since I volunteered with the Kauai Mental Health Advocates 3 years ago. Despite his official retirement, Warren continues to make a profound impact as a KMHA board member and through his active involvement in the Kauai community, including work at All Saints Preschool and the Friendship House. His extensive experience in counseling psychology and his dedication to mental health advocacy have greatly enriched our community. Warren, I'm deeply thankful for your mentorship and for joining us to share your insights on the Jail Diversion Program and its impact.
Oh, thank you very much, Christine. I'm very pleased to talk with you today and talk about jail diversion, particularly here on the island of Kauai, which is near and dear to my heart.
By the way, I introduced you as a former jail diversion coordinator of Kauai, which is correct, and this is what you have mentioned to me before. But then I found this article in the Garden Isle newspaper from 2010 where you were honored by the judges from the Kauai branch as the jail diversion founder on Kauai. Here's the article I show you. So you are the one in the center of this picture, is this correct?
Well, yes, that is me, the good-looking one.
So your certificate states that the by you introduced Kauai Jail Diversion Program provides alternatives to prosecution for persons with severe and persistent mental illness. Before we go into the details of the program, could you briefly explain the context and developments that led you into the establishment of the Kauai Jail Diversion Program?
In 1999, the state of Hawaii got some federal money to do a pilot program on the Big Island to see if we could implement jail diversion. And if it was successful on the Big Island, that it would be spread to the other islands. At that time, I got recruited by one of the grant writers to become the jail diversion coordinator for Kauai. And at that time, I traveled to the Big Island several times to meet with the jail diversion personnel there and to see how it was being implemented, and then to take that information and adapt it and mold it to work on Kauai. And I had to meet with many of the key stakeholders of the program to get their buy-in and get their ideas on how best to implement the program.
Who are those stakeholders that you needed to coordinate with and get on board?
The program was administered and run through the Kauai Community Mental Health Center, which is a part of the Adult Mental Health Division of the state of Hawaii. But it also involved the courts, the Intake Service Center, the Prosecuting Attorney's Office, and public defenders. It also involved coordinating with adult probation services, of course, the police department, but it also involved substance abuse providers, the Veterans Administration, and of course, one of the key components were the family members and consumers of this program.
Wow, as we've seen, the United States has experienced a dramatic increase in its prison and jail population starting in the 70s, with the incarceration rate more than quadrupling. Also, there's been a decline in recent years. The US still remains the highest incarceration rate globally, particularly impacting marginalized populations. In light of this, Warren, could you share your perspective on how these trends specifically affect individuals with severe and persistent mental illnesses? Or what are the unique challenges they face within the context of high incarceration rates?
As you mentioned, Christine, the incarceration rate in the United States is some 7 times that the average for the rest of the world, which is astonishing. And it impacts people with severe and persistent mental illness in a very profound way, in that once they do get incarcerated, the access to treatment, medications, and counseling is very, very low.
About what offenses or group of mentally ill are we talking here?
Often people with mental illness are incarcerated for things that are a result of their mental illness. Things like public vagrancy, disturbing the peace, contempt of court. I'll give you an example of someone who I know who wandered into somebody's house because they were hungry, and they got arrested for breaking and entering.
This individual needed treatment, not incarceration. And the jail diversion program is specifically built to deal with situations like this.
Mental illness is certainly very dominant in our society. Does the jail diversion program deal with all kinds of mental illness, or who are the individuals that qualify for this program?
Jail diversion programs throughout the country vary somewhat, but the program here in Hawaii deals with those individuals who have what is diagnosed as severe and persistent mental illness, or SPMI. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, approximately 2.5% of the population in the United States would be considered to have a severe and persistent mental illness. While I was the jail diversion coordinator on Kauai, the breakdown of SPMI was roughly 44% schizophrenia, 26% depressive disorders, 10% bipolar disorders, and another 20% of other things like PTSD and adjustment disorders and so forth.
So you're talking about individuals with serious mental illness that is persistent throughout their lives, like schizophrenia and also bipolar, that are winding up with you in jail diversion. Are these people that have not been treated in the past or maybe are not even aware of their disability?
Some of them are being diagnosed for the first time once they get into the jail diversion program. But some of them are individuals who have been treated for a long time and perhaps went off their medications or had something else happen in their life that caused them to have an issue.
Can you describe the most common scenarios for someone being admitted to the jail diversion program?
Yes, there are several ways in which someone could end up being admitted to the program, but one of the most common ways would be for me to get a call from the police saying that they had someone in the holding cell that was exhibiting signs of mental distress and would ask me to come over and do an evaluation. So I would go to the holding cell and do the eval, and if I felt that the person did have a severe and persistent mental illness, I would explain the outline of the program and ask them if they would be interested in participating. And if they were interested, they would have to agree to a fairly rigorous treatment program that would involve seeing a psychiatrist, getting diagnosed and put on some sort of medication. They would have to appear in court once a month with me to go before the judge and show them their monthly report in terms of compliance. They would have to have stable housing. They would also have to be in some sort of counseling, either private psychologist or a group counseling of some sort. Many of them also had co-occurring substance abuse issues and would be required to attend dual diagnosis sessions each week. Another common scenario would be to get a call from either a public defender or even the prosecutor's office detailing some individual who was already in jail and facing a court date, and I would go to the jail and interview the individual to see if they qualified for the program. And again, if they were interested in doing it, they would have to agree to all of the conditions that I outlined earlier.
So this is where all these stakeholders that you listed before come in?
Absolutely. The reason that the jail diversion program was so successful is that all of the people involved, whether it was Judge Senda or the prosecutors or the public defenders, the jail personnel, they all saw the value of jail diversion. They recognized that these individuals did not really belong in jail, but there was really no other alternative for them except to just follow the law. And jail diversion allowed these individuals another path that included therapy and a chance to turn their lives around.
Wow, so this sounds like a very tailored program to each individual, which seems to require many moving parts.
You're absolutely right on that. And you know, when I was first developing the program, I really was geared up to confront those individuals in the criminal justice system that were more hardcore. The people who felt that if you did the crime, you got to do your time. But it turned out that once we were up and running and the value of the program was evident, that the prosecutor's office actually became my most frequent referral source.
How was this program implemented within the courts?
Well, we had great cooperation with the courts. When under my tenure, I worked very closely with Judge Trudy Senda, and she attended our monthly jail diversion advisory council meetings. She was very instrumental in making sure that the prosecutors and the public defenders and all those involved with the court understood the value of the program. And I can't say enough about how important it was to have judicial buy-in. The way it ran on a daily basis was that once a month in court, they would have all of the people who were involved in jail diversion appear in court and stand before the judge. And I would have written a summary report on their compliance in the program. And if they were compliant, then the judge would personally give them, a good encouragement on keeping up in the program. If they were lacking in even a small matter, the judge would remind the participant that if they did not stay compliant with the program, that they would lose this opportunity and very likely end up back in jail. Now, I would like to say one thing about that part of the program. I was pretty sure before we actually had clients going through the program that I would have to hold that over their heads a lot. Basically saying, hey, if you don't do what the program is asking you to do, you're going to end up back in jail. I almost never had to do that. These individuals seemed to be so happy that they were getting attention and treatment and the things that they needed, that I never had to use the stick. It was always the carrot.
So, but your candidates, they had a choice if they want to participate in the program. In your experience, how were the reactions when you brought up the proposal to them?
Well, not everybody wanted to join the program. I had individuals who said, no, I don't want to do it, because it did involve a big commitment, and they could do, a month in jail and be done with their issues. Whereas this, the jail diversion program was a minimum of 6 months.
Independent of the charge.
Independent of the charge.
How big was your team at the Kauai Community Mental Health Center working on this?
Well, I was the jail diversion coordinator, and I had one jail diversion case manager that was working with me. My supervisor was a forensic coordinator, and they were very involved in jail diversion. I also had the support of the psychiatrists and the psychologists that worked there, and the other case managers. But specifically, it was the three of us at the Community Mental Health Center that headed up the program.
Was that enough, or could you have used more workers in this?
For the workload that we had, it was a lot, but the program was not always full. So it was enough. We worked hard, but we were able to administer the program adequately here on Kauai.
Were you involved in like community outreach programs, or did you really have to wait till individuals got involved with the criminal justice system?
I was very involved in community outreach. I gave many presentations in the community at Rotary, at Zonta Club, at the Bar Association, where I would explain the program, the benefits of it, how it worked, so that people in the community, if they knew of someone or they heard of someone who may be qualified for the program, that they could be in touch with me or with the mental health center.
From your experience, what kind of backgrounds do people have who qualify for the program?
Of course, every individual is different, but in general, if you look at the profile of the U.S. jail population, when you compare mentally ill inmates versus other inmates, the mentally ill inmates are much more likely to grow up in a foster home or an institution. Mentally ill inmates are much more than twice as likely to be homeless in the year before their arrest. Mentally ill inmates are 3 times more likely to experience prior physical or sexual abuse. And mentally ill inmates are also far more likely to have a history of alcohol dependence.
Wow, so this really speaks of how our society treats people with mental illness.
Yes, it does. Let me just give you a further example. If we look at prior sexual abuse among jail inmates, if you compare the mentally ill versus other inmates, among males, 3% of other inmates have been priorly sexually abused.
whereas 17% of the mentally ill have been abused. Among females, 30% of the other inmates have been sexually abused, whereas among the mentally ill inmates, 63%.
Wow. So, do you see big differences also in the criminal offenses of inmates with mental illnesses versus those without?
Well, not big differences for the most part. People with mental illness are less likely to be incarcerated for drug offenses, 23% to 15%. They're almost identical in terms of public order offenses. And here's the thing that most people do not understand, and that is that when you look at violent offenses, mentally ill inmates and other inmates have almost the same profile. So in the news, you hear about violent, mentally ill people, but they really are no more violent in the population than others.
This is such a huge point to keep in mind, knowing how media and movies misuse disabilities really, such as mental illness, in portraying and singling out cases, which really influences public opinion. So, the jailed diversion in Hawaii but accepts only candidates with non-violent offenses. What what happens once someone qualifies for the program?
Once they are qualified for the program and are accepted, their legal case is put on hold uh, until the completion of their jail diversion, and then which time it is dismissed. But as soon as they are admitted, they first would have an interview with the psychiatrist at the Kauai Mental Health Center, and be put on some sort of medication for whatever their diagnosis was. If they needed some sort of supportive therapy, whether it was through a psychologist or a therapist, they would get that. 3/4 of the individuals who qualify for jail diversion also have co-occurring substance abuse issues, and so they would attend a dual diagnosis therapy group session every week. One of the things that we found to be most critical in a successful jail diversion program was that the individual maintained stable housing. And that would either be in their family home or a group home of some sort. It meant that we did involve not only state agencies, but also faith-based groups that would offer group homes. And so that was a very important component. We also would highly encourage, if not require, that they attend Friendship House, where they could learn job skills, employment skills, and also have the support and therapeutic intervention of the clubhouse model, which the Friendship House is based on.
So, do you know how many individuals were there in your program at any given time, or do you have any idea about the success rate of finishing the program?
I believe that
at the height of our census, we had 10 or 12 people in the program, but sometimes it would be only 6. But the success rate of the program was so high, it almost looked like we were cooking the books, as they say. A real issue in the criminal justice system is recidivism. People who just keep coming back again and again for different offenses. And recidivism among the mentally ill pretty much went away with this program.
And you think this is partially because you were setting up these individuals with the services that they need to live in our society?
Absolutely. It gave them the building blocks for being able to live in the community and survive. Now, some of the jail diversion cases, as I mentioned earlier, were people who were well known to the mental health community on Kauai, but for whatever reason, they had gone off their medication and had gotten into trouble. This, especially with this population, that is a chronic problem that I doubt will ever get fully fixed. People get better and they think everything is going well and that they don't need to take these medications. And in some cases, I can really understand it because some of the antipsychotic medications have very serious side effects that are not pleasant. And so when someone gets stabilized, they think, oh, I don't need these things anymore, and so they go off of them. So that can happen.
So the way to recovery and rehabilitation is never straight. While I see that medication is definitely an important part, but I think it needs to go hand in hand with other support services. And in my work, just trying to connect clients to the social services they are entitled to can get really complicated. Seeing individuals dealing with that on their own is almost impossible. I'm sure you've experienced the same within the jail diversion.
Absolutely. Many of these individuals are unaware of the social service entitlements that they could receive, and or even worse, even if they were aware of them, could not negotiate the bureaucracy and the forms that are needed to be completed in order to receive what they really need to stay in a recovery model.
So here we are talking about like housing or food stamps or...
Yes. We're on Kauai.
This is Kauai for you. So how long did you operate the program, and how, I mean, you're retired now, but how did your involvement with jail diversion end?
I continued with the jail diversion program till the end of 2009, but in the summer of 2008, I had a serious spinal cord injury that prevented me from being able to really do the program effectively. So I retired in the fall of 2009. I would like to say, though, if I had not suffered the injury that I did, I believe I would still be doing that program today because I loved doing it. It's a very important program, and in some ways, I felt like everything I had done in my life up to that point was kind of in preparation to do that job.
Warren, I recently had the chance to have a conversation with Ray Cooper, the current manager of the Kauai Community Mental Health Center. So I would like to share some updates with you. It turns out that the jail diversion program you initiated was only intermittently operational since you left. Ray Cooper explained that the reasons behind were staffing shortages in combination with a tight state budget. But there's also good news. Beginning of this year, the program has restarted and is currently serving 6 individuals with a capacity of 8 to 10. The program now operates post-booking only and primarily involves cases flagged by public defenders. There are 2 case managers and 1 psychologist who flies in from Oahu if needed. What are your thoughts on these developments? I know that this operational model is not what you had envisioned, but without your work, we would probably not even have a jail diversion on Kauai.
First of all, I'm very happy to hear that it is up and running. And a post-booking jail diversion program will work, but by the time any intervention can happen with these individuals, there's a lot of things that can happen in the meantime. So, but it's better than not having any jail diversion. And if these case managers that are assigned to the program have been well trained, I think that the program can run smoothly. When I was jail diversion coordinator, rarely did we have more than 10 people in the program. And I did that with just 1 case manager. So it very well could work very smoothly. I would encourage them to get the prosecutor's office involved in referrals also, however, because they often will encounter these individuals before public defenders. I also think it's critical that any jail diversion program needs to have total buy-in by the judicial system. So I don't know if they are working with a particular judge or judges, but I would make sure that they are on board with the program and feel that it is an integral part of their process.
There is a big effort nationwide not to criminalize mental health, but this often requires preventative programs. Unfortunately, the Kauai Community Mental Health Center operates solely on a tight state budget without any outside funding. Ray Cooper explained that this is why the Kauai Mental Health Center focuses solely on registered clinic patients and that there are no pre-booking efforts or community outreach on Kauai to prevent individuals with severe and persistent mental illness from entering the criminal justice system. Given your experience and the successes you have seen, what would you suggest could enhance early intervention and prevent these individuals from entering the criminal justice system?
Unfortunately, it all comes down to money and the level of commitment that we have to these individuals. We should fund a position in the adult mental health system here on Kauai that focuses only on the homeless population. KEO, Kauai Economic Opportunity, runs a van, and they know where all the homeless folks are, and doing outreach to them would go a long way to identifying people who are at risk before they end up in jail. I also think that a jail diversion coordinator position should be funded. The case managers, I am sure, have a big load in addition to their jail diversion clients. And the coordinator position is something that is critical for getting the community involved. The community meaning Rotary and the judicial system and social workers. And the coordinator would be responsible for making the community aware of the services available. Often people are surprised at what actually is available. And the only other thing, again, it all comes down to funding and money. This kind of intervention requires a significant amount of one-on-one time with the client.
Warren, before we conclude, there's one more critical issue I would like to discuss. Unfortunately, I couldn't find specific numbers regarding how many individuals in the Kauai County Jail are currently diagnosed with severe mental illnesses. However, Ray Cooper informed me that the Kauai Community Mental Health Center is currently managing 25 court-ordered clients for treatment. These are individuals who are still attached to the justice system but on conditional release. In this context, one problematic issue came up that I was not aware of before. As soon as a person is incarcerated, their public health insurance benefits are terminated. A lot of individuals with mental health problems are on MedQuest. Once such a person is incarcerated, the medications they are on cannot be refilled. This is why incarceration often disrupts necessary ongoing medical treatments. Jails do have their own jail-employed healthcare professionals, but the quality and extent of these services may not always meet the needs of every individual, especially those with complex mental health conditions. This might lead to a further destabilization of their condition while in jail. Upon release, these individuals face a critical gap in their care again. Typically, upon release, individuals get about 10 days' worth of supply for their medication. Ray Cooper explained that they need to reinstate their insurance during this time. But not many people can do this by themselves and do not know how to navigate the complicated system. Patients are given information about existing continuing outpatient services, but oftentimes these people do not show up after their release. Warren, have you also been confronted with this problematic, and what do you think needs to be done in terms of maintaining continuity of care?
Yes, I absolutely have encountered this problem, and it is one that requires a lot of thought. But I question why an individual should be kicked off of MedQuest once they enter the jail. They still have medical needs, and they're still going to have medical needs when they get out. But that would be the first thing. But there definitely needs to be more mental health services available while people are in jail. And again, it comes down to money and staffing, but a better job could be done in coordinating the reintegration of folks back into the community, especially if they need to get reinstated for their benefits.
Warren, I'm deeply grateful for the time you've spent with me today and in preparation for this interview. Thank you for sharing your insights and reflections on the needs of people with severe and persistent mental illness.
Thank you, Christine. It's been a pleasure, and I really hope that the information that we've talked about today will be of benefit to you and your fellow students.
Thank you also for being such a steadfast advocate. The legacy of your work will continue throughout our community. This interview will be shared with my seminar group, which includes future social workers, educators, and public health and policymakers. Your efforts have profoundly inspired me, and I'm confident that your insights will continue to inspire and influence many others, encouraging them to advocate for a more equitable society. The insights and reflections you have shared today not only enriches our understanding, but also highlights the ongoing need for dedication and innovation in this field. Our discussion today with Warren Dastrup has explained the critical role that jail diversion programs play in addressing the needs of individuals with severe and persistent mental illness within the criminal justice system. As exemplified by the Kauai's program's approach, these initiatives offer a more humane and effective alternative to incarceration, focusing on rehabilitation and support rather than punishment. In reflecting upon the insights gathered from our discussion with Warren Dastrup about the jail diversion program, it becomes evident that this initiative aligns closely with the core beliefs of disability studies. Rather than perceiving individuals with severe and persistent mental illness as subjects for medical treatment or as problems for the criminal justice system to manage, the program acknowledges the societal factors contributing to their criminalization. It further understands that the criminal justice system, with its lack of appropriate mental health support, is ill-equipped for individuals with SPMI. This highlights a societal failure to provide adequate resources and support for mental health, which is a core concern of disability studies. Warren's insights, drawn from his extensive experiences, highlight the importance of collaborative efforts among various stakeholders, including law enforcement, healthcare professionals, and the criminal justice system, to create a more compassionate and effective approach to mental health within the criminal justice framework. In addition, the program focuses on tailored rehabilitation plans and acknowledges the diverse needs of individuals with severe and persistent mental illnesses. This aligns with the disability studies perspective of honoring the agency and autonomy of individuals. This approach challenges the stereotype that people with disabilities, including mental illnesses, are homogeneous and require uniform solutions. Instead, it respects their individuality and varied experiences, thereby promoting inclusivity and empowerment. As we move forward, it is crucial to continue exploring innovative solutions, advocating for policy reforms, and raising societal awareness. Our collective efforts are essential in contributing to a more just and equitable society. A society where mental illness and disabilities are met with understanding, support, and dignity, and where every individual, regardless of their abilities or health conditions, is treated with respect and given fair opportunities to thrive. Warren Dastrup has certainly impacted me in my decision-making to become a social worker on Kauai, and I hope that Warren Dastrup's legacy in the field of mental health advocacy and the jail diversion program on Kauai will also serve you as an inspiring example of the impact that dedicated individuals can have in driving positive change.